Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. You know, the entire idea of an extraterrestrial presence here on Earth, to a lot of people, it's very uncomfortable. The whole reality it's an uncomfortable truth of our existence, and that's really what's happening here. That's why there are many among us who refuse to admit it or refuse to even think about it, and some of us who actually completely outright deny it. But really, it's what it is. It's basically some of us, right, are just we're being stubborn. We don't want to face this reality. It's an uncomfortable truth. Just recently, I guess it was probably about a week and a half ago. Actually, it was today it's Tuesday right now, so it would have been 2 Saturdays ago. I was chewing on a soft cookie, right? And next thing you know, I felt something like it sounded like a snap in my mouth, like one of my teeth. It sounded like something snapped, and the next thing I knew, it felt like I was chewing on a little piece of filling. That's what it was. A little piece of filling came out of one of my back, the tooth in the back of my head here on the top left. And so I'm thinking, okay, maybe just the filling came out. There was no pain at first, but about an hour later, I felt some pain. But I knew by the way the sound happened, like it felt worse than just a piece of filling coming loose and coming out. It was more than that. And I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to face that reality. Like, here we go. Now I got to go to a dentist and all that kind of stuff. So I was thinking, well, that maybe it'll be okay by tomorrow, And the next day it was a Sunday, and it was still hurting me. It was just like it wasn't bad pain or anything. It's just, I still have the issue here, but it wasn't bad pain or anything. And then Monday rolled around. I was thinking, I'll give it one more day before I go calling the dentist up. I'm hoping that. I'm thinking that's maybe nothing really to worry about here. Maybe it's only a filling and there's no big deal here. But again, I didn't want to face the truth of the situation, the uncomfortable truth, right? And then finally on that Tuesday, a week ago today, I had contacted the dentist and I said, I need an appointment. I think a filling came out in one of my teeth, even though I was thinking it was probably something worse. I didn't want to go there yet. I didn't want to face that reality. And of course, when I went in, I was told what I really expected. In the bottom of my heart, I knew it was going to be worse than just a filling coming out, right? It was basically the tooth, the top back tooth in the left side of my head, basically split in half. So now, I have to go to a specialist to get it removed. And, and I got to think about, do I want to get an implant or anything like that? I don't know. I already do have an implant for one of them in the front, and it's just a lot, pain in the butt for anybody out there who ever had to do something like that. But again, the point of this whole talk is the fact that I just didn't want to face it. It was an uncomfortable truth. I knew it was more than just a filling. I mean, I knew it right when it happened. I was thinking that sounded bad, but I tried to kidding myself. I was thinking, no, maybe it's just a filling. I didn't want to face reality. And basically the truth of the situation. Now, of course, the truth is and in the end, that's what we have. In the end of all of this, there's always the truth. It always ends that way. You're faced with the truth of the situation, and the truth is that tooth snapped, and I got to get it pulled out of my head, and it's going to suck. But I finally came to terms with the situation, though I had to. I was forced to. But again, I think that's what's going on here with this extraterrestrial reality, the situation, with the fact. There's no question that there's a presence here on this planet, and that's not human and has more intelligence than human beings have. And they're way more technologically advanced than human beings. And I think there's a lot of people out there, right? There's people, the kind of people I would imagine who listen to this podcast are people who are very interested in this subject and believe in it or are close to believing in it, right? I would imagine most people are, I can't imagine a lot of skeptics coming here, right? And listening to this podcast. I just couldn't see it. I mean, why would you wouldn't want to hear the truth. The truth is, it hurts. It's uncomfortable. This truth is uncomfortable. And it really is, even for people like me who believe in this. There are some days where it's like, man, I don't like this idea of an extraterrestrial presence on this planet. I really don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It really does. I mean, when I think about what's happened in the past and just in my own life, I wonder, I talk about that situation when I was a kid a lot, where the thing showed up in my room like that. I mean, I don't like that. I mean, as far as I know, it hasn't happened again, right? But how do I know it hasn't happened again? Maybe I just don't know that it's happened. Maybe it's happened numerous times, and I just don't remember those times. The only time I remember was that one time when I was a kid. And it just scares me, the power that these things have over us. So it is very uncomfortable to think about it. It's an uncomfortable reality, and I don't like it. I mean, I come on here and I talk about it and everything, and you'll see there's all kinds of people who accept the reality of extraterrestrials. There's a different group out there, and I know some of them, and they're very positive. They think that these beings are here on some mission of peace and kindness and love. Unfortunately, I don't see it that way. Of course, as anybody listens to my podcast, I try to take as much of a realistic approach to this as possible, and I base everything I talk about on data that's been compiled by researchers who've looked into this. And all of that research, all of the evidence that's compiled that's been put together by different people over time, I look at that and I mix that in with my own experiences, and I've come to the conclusion that there's no question that there's an extraterrestrial presence here. But just because I'm pro extraterrestrial presence here doesn't mean I'm really happy about it. I don't. To me, it's an uncomfortable idea. I mean, we really don't know why they're here. I mean, we speculate all the time, and a lot of the evidence points to something that doesn't seem pleasant. When you consider alien abduction and things like that, hybridization program. I mean, that stuff you wish. I mean, actually, anybody who's into this, right, who studies this, that it's not something that anybody's happy about at all. It's just that we're facing. Some of us have the ability to just say, yeah, we got to face this. It's an uncomfortable truth, but it's the truth. It's just that's what's happening. There's just too much evidence, right? I mean, there's all different kinds of people out there. Again, there's also people out there who. You really don't say much about this subject at all. They whatever they think about it, they keep it to themselves. They internalize it. You come across people like this sometimes when the subject is brought up. Either they'll say nothing at all, and you don't even know what they think, and there's different kinds of people who completely enthusiastically are laugh at it, like they think it's funny and ridiculous. I think that's more of a defense mechanism for a lot of them, because I mean, again, when you consider, I mean, I can't see how most people should have been exposed to this point by some of the harsh realities of the extraterrestrial reality. I mean, it'd be too tough to try to avoid that. I mean, just because most of the time mainstream newscasters will laugh and chuckle about it online, there has to be something else out there somewhere in the media. There's always some place in the media out there that's trying to deliver a different message about it. For instance, all these documentaries you see on different channels, cable channels. So I just think a lot of people are exposed to the reality, but most of them just don't want to go there. They don't want to think about that. They have enough on their plate, and that's understandable too. I mean, there's just so much on our plate the way it is in this weird and wild life that we all lead. There's a lot of different things that we have to worry about as just to get through this life. I mean, we can't sit around constantly. Most people can't. I mean, just thinking about alien visitation or extraterrestrial abduction or whatever, right? You just can't do that. So basically, most people just they have to push it away because it's just too much. It's too much on their plate, and they don't want to think about it. They don't want to face it. And I think a lot of these people who really don't comment about it, that's probably what they're thinking is like, this could be something, and I may need to deal with this. I may need to think about this, but I can't. I don't want to. I don't need to concern myself with this. And so they don't really comment on it, and they just pretend it's not happening. even though inside they know that there's probably something going on, but they don't. They know enough, and that's as far as they want to go. They don't want to go any further. They don't need. They don't want to see any more evidence. I mean, think about some of the, and then you go to the people who are constantly following debunkers, like people who have to constantly, and I've talked about this before. People that need to have that assurances, they need assurances that there's nothing to this all the time. Like, I don't understand that. I mean, if it's so crazy like they make it sound, then why even bother, talking about it at all? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. That's a sign that they need to do that for themselves to make it seem, and then not only with themselves, but the debunker gives them, or is telling them what they need to hear, and plus all of their comrades who are right there side by side with them, they all need that support from each other to say, yeah, there's nothing to this. All these people are crazy who are talking about it, so yeah, okay, everything's fine in the world. And again, it's just because I believe, again, what's going on here, it's just an uncomfortable truth of our existence. That there is something here. And it is uncomfortable. I mean, the idea, right, that, I mean, these things could interfere with your life at any time, and there's absolutely nothing you could do about it. I mean, it's been time and time again, there's been so many different reports. People have talked about this, how these things could show up at any time. It doesn't mean, a lot of people have this idea in their head that it's only in the middle of the night when people are sleeping that aliens show up and abduct them. No, it happens. It could happen in broad daylight. It happens all different times. It's always unexpected, and nobody who's experiencing this wants it to happen. And a lot of these people who experience it don't even talk about it. It takes them a long time before they even want to face it. Just like the situation with my tooth. I mean, I just didn't want to face that. I don't want to deal with that reality. But if you're an alien abductee, it's the same thing. It's like, oh my God, So if you're one of like certain abductees have enough, they're somehow, some of them for whatever reason are able to retain memories. Their memories ain't getting completely wiped for some reason, and they're having some recall of their abduction experiences or their interaction with aliens, and so. They know something's going on. They're losing time, whatever, right? And they know something's happening. They know, they have an idea what it is, right? But they don't want to face it. And then finally, some of them will finally go see somebody, and they'll talk about what's going on with that person, with the psychiatrist, and possibly get hypnotized and find out what else has been going on, just because they want to face it. They want to realize, they want to know, okay, is this really happening, or am I going crazy? Then they find out that they're not going crazy, that it's really happening. And you would think if you're somebody like an alien abductee, I think a lot of times you'd probably wish I was going crazy, and that there was a pill I could take to make the craziness go away. Because yes, it's a very uncomfortable truth. This whole thing is an uncomfortable reality. It is not anything that anybody wants to have to deal with. In reality, I talk about it here all the time. I'm fascinated by it, but at the same time, and I think this goes for probably anybody who listens to this podcast. I would imagine at the same time there's something scary about it. It's an uncomfortable thing, but we're facing it, and I'm facing it, and I'm talking about it, and I'm putting it out there. I understand in a way, okay, if the government right now, I've been talking about this recently, the government seems like it's pulling back a little bit. It doesn't think the time is right, and maybe they are right for doing that. I don't know. Again, I don't have enough data in front of me. I don't understand. They know more than I do about this. So, I guess they know best. But at the same time, we still have to acknowledge this reality. I mean, there's a presence here, despite any kind of, noise from the other side, from the skeptics. It doesn't really matter. They don't really, they're avoiding this reality. They don't want to go there. It's just too much for them. It's too much, there's too much to concern them. Again, I really believe this. I really believe that what's happening here is that the reason we have not faced this yet, and we actually, like I said this before, we don't even need the government, but the human race could still face this reality, right? The reason we're not facing this yet, because most of us just aren't ready. And a lot of us, and a lot of those people who aren't ready, they know it's something out there. They know it's boiling there in the background, right? It's the elephant in our existence. right? Not in the room. It's the elephant in human existence just hanging over us right now. There's an extraterrestrial presence here. On top of all the other things that are going on in this crazy world that we live in, on top of all the politics, on top of all the wars that we're fighting, on top of everything that's going on here, all the worries you have about your bills, how are you going to pay the heating bill next week? And look at the price of gas yesterday. I mean, of all those worries, right? People are in your life who are sick or are going through problems, or, you know, all those problems. On top of all of that stuff we already have on our plate, there's the extraterrestrial presence. It's a lot to deal with. It's a lot to deal with. And it makes everything else seem much more complicated. And that, I believe, is why a lot of us don't want to face this reality. It's an uncomfortable truth, and we want to stay away from it for as long as we possibly can.